I have my partner and mentor, Mamadou Diallo, on the other end. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay.
Hi, Mamadou. How are you?
Hey, hi, Keisha, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Just in case you hear my 1-year-old crying, she's trying for me to pick her up. So don't be alarmed. All right. So yeah, Zeppelin, tell me. So Keisha, I don't really. He literally just called me about there she about you guys been chatting, and I think you had some questions, but can you catch me up to speed where you guys left off and what exact questions are about the sub two, so I can answer the right questions?
Well, I don't think for me it's any questions per se. I was just looking at specifically relating to my situation, what would be something that you guys are willing to offer. That's just kind of where I am on it.
Okay.
I've heard a couple different proposals before just by other investors. But for me, I'm looking for something that works in my favor, based on what the offer would be. So that's kind of where I sit.
Okay. Well, here's the thing, right? From my understanding, what Zeppelin told me, I think he approached you with sort of a creative offer. Now, I don't know what works for you. That's really up to you to dictate those terms, right? Because only you know what you're really trying to accomplish. I don't have that backstory. But in terms of the creative finance, I know typically when they approach you with that, that means you're asking, either you're asking a price where a cash offer doesn't make sense for an investor, somewhere close to retail, right? So which is fine. So typically that's when we offer that kind of term. So is that what you guys are discussing, or are you guys still discussing the cash offer?
I believe so.
Okay.
And so Eileen, you're still there, right? And I was hoping that you would have kind of called him up to speed on kind of what we discussed. So we,
Yeah, my understanding is he kind of told you a little bit about buying the property subject to, and you were trying to understand how that works. As far as the cash offer, I didn't look at the property or anything like that yet, but the cash offer, that's from what he told me, you've been getting offers that you don't like anyway. So I'm assuming, you're probably asking the price.
It just don't work for me. My specific needs are not the same as all other people.
What's your asking price? What price works for you? What's your asking price?
So my asking price is $235.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay, so I'm just gonna explain to you how the creative finance work. I mean, the subject to that he approached you on the cash offer. That really, I need to sit down and complete. I don't know what that looks like. I haven't looked at it yet. But has anybody offered you anything creative at all? Like anybody told you something about subject to offer?
They have.
Okay, got it. So what's your understanding of it so far?
Okay, so hold on, because I didn't realize I was gonna be doing all the talking. I'm in the store, so I don't want to let me get out the store.
Yeah, no worries.
Talk about my personal business.
Of course.
I thought you were gonna be doing all the leg work.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't want to shoot in the dark, right? I need to first understand the backstory for me to not just be talking out of context.
So here's the thing, cash offers don't work for me because what they're trying to offer me based on the fact that they believe that I'm in foreclosure right now, I'm not in foreclosure.
Okay.
My foreclosure canceled sale date is off the table.
Oh, awesome.
That I verified that with my lender. But of course, people are still approaching me with this, let me help you get out of foreclosure with these low volume offers. And I get that's how the process works. You market people who are in distress that have a dire financial need. That is not me. Okay. I'm very knowledgeable about my home and the process and what's going on, and I'm not going to let myself go under for lack of understanding or being put in a situation. So, yes, am I in financial tight that I need to get out of? Yeah, but it's not something that I'm going to walk away and leave $160,000 worth of equity on the table. Absolutely. So let's just start from there. So with that being said, the offers and the people that have approached me in the past, that's exactly what they're after. I'm not doing that. So here's the thing. I am in a situation where, not even a situation, years ago, 18 months to 24 months ago, I was already deciding to go through the process of selling my home once my daughter graduates from high school. I have considered escalating that process because of the opportunity to liquidate some of the equity that I have. I lost my full-time job maybe a year and a half ago. So for me, My finances have just been lower than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I'm not drowning, but I prefer not to tread. I need to be swimming. So that's kind of where I am. So that's why for me, my situation was a little bit different than most of the people that you approach. And so when me and Ali were speaking yesterday, we kind of got down to this part of where I am as a consumer. So I'm not the person that needs to be targeted. I'm someone that will take an opportunity if the right one comes across my table. With that being said, because I don't make the $65 an hour that I used to make, because my credit is not where it is, I don't have the option to do a refi or a HELOC to get that equity out of my home to be able to do what it is I would like to do based on my finances. However, I'm interested in some of the opportunities and things that some of the investors who showed up at my door with a different objective or different mission, they have told me about. So now that I know that these things are out here on the table, I'm interested. I'm not convinced, but I'm interested. So with that being said, that's where I am. The value that I have on my home, or what I owe on my property is about $112,000 right now. With the market, give or take, ups and downs in the 90-day process. Right. My home is about $280,000. So with that, you can do the math, $168,000 worth of equity on the table. And I'm creatively trying to access how to get it out. If in fact, I can't do that by partnering with someone who can help me, get some of that up front and then work something out over time. And then they can, ultimately own that property, flip it, do whatever they need, rent it out to Section 8. Then I will just roll the dice and take my chances, wait a few months, try to make some home improvements on my own and just personally list it and then get it out by myself. So that's kind of where I am.
Got it. Fantastic. Okay, so this helps out. So the first thing first, right, is that, I don't know all the people that have been calling you, you've probably been talking to wholesalers anyway, because most people that's going to call you, what they're really looking to do is to put you on the contract, then try to sell that contract for a fee, right? We have like a bunch of them. My email is full of people trying to sell me those kind of contracts. So that's who you're probably talking to anyway. So you want to make sure you're talking to people that can actually close. Now, as far as targeting, I think that's I understand, but I don't want to be put in that box because we don't target people that are desperate necessarily. What we target is we're investors, right? We're not looking to buy any properties to move into the property. And there is only two things that an investor can do with a house. Is one, to take it, flip it for a little bit of profit, or take it and hold it for cash flow, right? Obviously, so when we invest, we have to make sure we're getting something to where the cash on cash return makes sense on the money, but it's also a win-win situation with the seller. So we don't target anybody just because they're in a financial distress. We put out a lot of marketing. Some sellers we talk to, they're going through divorce, some are going through pre-foreclosure, but we also have sellers that literally own their property free and clear. Like the one we closed last Friday, the guy has all the money in the world. He doesn't need any money. For him, it was like, hey, I'm done with the property. I own it absolutely free and clear, but I'm not taking anything less than $490,000 because that's what my property is worth, as he should, right? But he was willing, as long as we gave him that price, he was willing to finance his equity where we gave him a down payment. We just turned him into the bank. So it was a win-win situation, but he was not desperate. So we don't target those people, but I see where you're coming from because you have probably a bunch of people learning real estate or YouTube calling you. So that's the only thing. That's just a vetting process. So you just vet them, make sure that they're not actual wholesalers trying to just put you on the contract, because I've seen sellers lose their properties in foreclosure because they're dealing with people that don't know what they're doing and don't have the money to perform nor money to put earnest money at close of escrow anyway, right? So
quick, let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
When you say wholesale was trying to put me on contract, maybe I'm misinterpreting, but explain to me what you mean by that, because as far as I'm concerned, I haven't had anybody trying to do that.
So a wholesale, so you're gonna get, so people will call you, say, hey, I'm an investor, I'm trying to buy your home, and then they make you like, let's say 70% of what your property is worth, right? So let's say you agree, they're gonna put you on the contract and they're gonna market that contract and try to make like 10,000 fee on it or 5,000, or it doesn't matter. So basically they're just trying to sell the contract to an investor that is actually gonna buy the property, fix it up, flip it, or hold it. That's what a wholesaler is.
Oh, okay. So no, I've actually had investors are reaching out to me, not the people trying to do that.
No, I understand. They won't tell you that. They all say they're investors. I'm just getting out of the way the assumption that we're targeting people in desperate needs, because that's not what we're doing. No, I'm not taking it personal. I'm just explaining. No, I'm not offended. Please.
understand where I come from.
No.
That is a financial distress.
I am not offended. I was explaining, you explained to me where you're coming from. I'm explaining where we come from. I'm not offended at all. And also, when you get calls for, why do I bring up the wholesaler thing? Because when you get calls from wholesalers, they don't tell you they're wholesalers. They tell you they're investors. So unless you kind of like tell them, hey, your contract cannot be assignable, you have to give me 5,000 earnest money, non-refundable, all those things. Because if he's a wholesaler, then they don't even have the money to give you that 5,000 anyway. So the reason I tell that to sellers is because like some of these sellers we talk to is super like old people that really, you know, this is the first time, because you seem like super savvy, right? Yeah, but most homeowners are not as savvy as you. So they don't know how the process works. They don't know how title works. They don't know the right questions to ask. So I've seen older people lose their home to auction because they're dealing with those kind of people. So that's the only reason I brought it up. I didn't bring it up because I'm offended any way, shape, or form.
Oh, okay.
That's number one. Okay. Number two, in terms of your property, the option, the creative option, I'm not going to mention the cash option because that's easy, right? We just need to compute and tell you exactly where we'll be. It sounds like your property is turnkey anyway. So this won't be a flip. This is probably a buy and hold for an investor at least. Right? Because it's not a property that is a fixer upper, right? This is your primary residence, I'm assuming.
This is my primary residence.
Okay, great. So this is probably a property where an investor is looking at it as a buy and hold, not necessarily a flip. But it seems like for you, from what I'm understanding so far, really the main thing is getting your equity, and potentially if you could get it without selling the house, you would do that, right?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But I guess for me, ultimately, the goal was to sell.
Yeah. Okay. So when on your full asking price on the creative route, just to touch on it, right? That's always a second option, by the way. Your first option should always be like a homestead buyer because they're not looking, you know, to cash flow or to make any profit. So they will give you a full retail if you list it on the market. That should always be your first option. So on the creative route is the reason we can give you full asking price as an investor on retail, because we don't buy properties retail. It just doesn't make sense. It's not an investment at that point. The reason we can give you that is because at that point, I don't care about the purchase price, nor do I care about walking with equity. What I care about is my ability to cash flow at that point, because I'm looking to hold this property for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Does that make sense? So I'll give you your full asking, whatever that is. If the house is worth 260, you say it's worth 260, and I look up the numbers and it's worth 260, I'll give you the full 260. I don't care about the purchase price. What I care about is based on the existing debt that you have right now, because I'm assuming you have a mortgage on the property. That's the reason there is a foreclosure in the first place. So that debt, number one, is we'll take that over. So we'll be responsible for making those payments. And then your full equity, whatever the number is, let's say you say it's 160. I'm just giving an example, right? So that now all we're talking about is, okay, on $160,000 equity, you are now becoming the bank on your equity. So I'll give you your full equity, but it's not going to be the $160,000 up front at that point. So we take over the mortgage. We're responsible for making the payments. Now we just need to figure out, okay, on the equity, how much do you need up front? And then we cover the closing costs and all those things. And then how much are we making you payments every single month on top of paying the mortgage? So this would be a hybrid, basically. So it will be partially subject to, where we buy the property subject to the existing loan in place. Then seller finance, because you have equity. So you're basically financing your equity. So we give you a portion of it up front, right at close of escrow. And then the remainder every single month, now we have two payments we're making. One payment is to your mortgage company, and the second one is to you as the bank on your equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And the transaction, by the way, is nothing new. This is probably subject to is probably older than the United States itself, right? So you can look at it, you can Google it, you can read on it, right? So all that means is we're buying the property subject to existing loan. And because we're buying it subject to existing loan, and we don't have to go to a hard money lender to qualify, give the credit, you know, put all these big down payments. And right now, I'm sure you're aware of the interest rates. It's super high. So you're saving us like having to go and get like 8% interest where we cannot even cash flow, right? That's the reason why every realtor right now is stuck with brand new properties on the market not selling, right? So you're saving us that, so we can give you full asking because you're saving us that headache. And then the process is way faster when you buy this way. The other thing is we do buy properties the traditional way, but when you go to the lenders, because we're investors, we build a portfolio, right? the bank, like Chase Bank of America, they will only lend you up to like 10, 12 properties. After that, you're capped out your credit. I've used my credit, my wife's credit, my cousin's credit, my big brother's credit, right? So in order to keep building a portfolio, you have to start buying creatively, which is either this way, which is subject to our seller finance. And then, or we have properties where we buy that they don't even have equity at all, right? Like literally they owe, like the last one we closed, VA loan, he literally just bought it 1 year ago. Absolute zero equity because the property didn't even appreciate, right? But what was important for him? For him was like, hey, I don't want to list my house and have to pay the commissions out of my pocket. I just bought the house and my job is asking me to move. Well, the creative finance solved that issue for that seller. Does that make sense? He doesn't have to come out of pocket. We give him $5,000 and we take over the mortgage, which the mortgage is retail. Does that make sense? So it's just a plan B solution. It's never plan A. If it doesn't work, it's perfectly fine. We don't have to buy the home. We buy like 3 properties a month, to be honest with you. So it's not, we don't have to. We just propose it as a second solution if we're not a good fit on the cash, because that way we can give you a full asking. I don't care about the price. It's my ability to cash flow. How much money am I bringing to the table? And then let's say like we don't do regular rentals. I'll be straightforward with you because I hate dealing with tenant headaches for $400 a month. It's not worth my time. You know what I mean? So typically what we do is we do a lot of midterms. So we rent to traveling nurses, or like, you know, we do misplaced insurance tenants, like people, you know, their properties got burned. You know what I mean? So that's what we do. So let's say we talk about potential numbers and you go, you know what, Mamadou, okay, great. I understand the subject to, and I'm willing to do it. You're giving me my full asking. This is what I want on my equity up front. And then this is the monthly payment I want. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to underwrite it as a midterm if it works, see what is my potential cash flow if I rent it out, and then see, let's say hypothetically, I'm just making up a number. Let's say everything, the cash to you, closing, design, furnishing is costing me $60,000, okay? All in. Well, I'm going to look at the $60,000 and I'm going to compare it against my potential cash flow and see if my cash on cash return makes sense to invest my money in this deal at that point. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, then we got a deal. If you don't, I'm going to come to you and say, hey, can we meet somewhere in the middle? Because here is a little bit, you know, it's just 2 adults talking about a property, right? If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. We all move on. Does that make sense?
Right.
All right. So that's basically that in a nutshell when it comes to the creative. Now, obviously, the mechanics is a little bit more. I can go into an explanation on the call because I don't want to overwhelm you with information. But really, we only bring that up if a cash offer is not a good fit. The reason I haven't looked at the property is because I have like 10 on my list right now, and plus, Zeppelin called me like last minute and he said you had a question about the subject to stuff. So I just wanted to address that first, see if it's even something you're open to as a plan B if your plan A doesn't work, right? Because like your equity, I understand what you mean by that. Like if you're in a position yourself, the credit, you could refi. Unfortunately, we don't give out loans right now. We're in a position where we're building. So we borrow, but we don't give out loans. But we do have like asset-based lenders, but typically they only lend you if the property is an investment, not a primary, right? So I get where you're coming from. And I can already tell you 100%. Me, I don't know anybody else calling you. We're not looking to flip it. This market, flips are not selling. I'm not interested in flipping. We have flips on the market right now where we have to drop the prices just to sell it, right? So right now, all we're looking for is buy and holds. I'm not interested in flipping your house, right? So I don't care about the purchase price you're asking as long as you're not asking me $100,000 over retail. Does that make sense?
Correct.
All right. So any confusion so far? Anything you don't like?
No, I follow you.
Okay. So is this something you would consider as an option B even?
Correct. It will be.
Okay.
Because what you explained to me and how you explained it made sense.
Yeah. Okay. So you see, I wasn't offended. Sorry if I sounded like that. I'm just a passionate.
You kept saying it like
I'm just a passionate person when I talk. I was
It's the same way, but I just wanted to make sure you understood kind of my point of view and kind of the experiences that I've received. And they haven't been negative. I get it. It's a business. I understand everybody's in it to make money. As well as a homeowner, you know, if I make the emotional decision to move forward, and I say emotional because I've been there 15 years. I raised my family.
Absolutely.
However, I am in a situation where I need to try to transfer, you know, things to liquid so that I can move in. You know, so that's kind of where I am on it.
No, I completely understand. I completely understand. And the reality, I'll be honest with you, right? Every investor is different. For me, I tell my whole team that we're not in the real estate business, we're in the problem solving business. And if we're not a good fit, it just means we don't have the right solution for you and we just move on. But the reality is